The unsurpassed, penetrating, and perfect truth is seldom met with, even in 100,000 merely countless. Now we can see and hear it. We can remember and accept it. I vow to make the Buddha's truth one with myself. Homage to the Buddha, homage to the Dharma, homage to the Sangha. So, thank you all for being here this morning. We had a very joyous day yesterday with the ordination of two new monks, Reverend Dara and Reverend Audrey, and we really appreciate all of you who were able to come for the ceremony. I know some of you traveled a distance for that, and we're just really glad to have a couple new monks in our community and in our order. So, and congratulations to them. I'd like to continue the series that I started over a year ago on the attitude of gratitude. This is part 6, and I think we're still counting. So, I've used as an outline for this series several of the great vows of Samantabhadra Bodhisattva. That's the Bodhisattva of great love, or universal practice, universal goodness. And the third of his or her great vows was to make offerings, to practice generosity. And in the last few talks, I've been looking at how this is expressed in Great Master Dogen Shobo Genzo. Great Master Dogen is the founder of our tradition in Japan. So much of our practice finds a, if you will, kind of crystallization in his teachings, okay? It's not that he came up with something new, but he just found a very unique way of expressing Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings for his time and his place, and they continue to be helpful, for us. We call our tradition Soto Zen. We use the phrase Serene Reflection Meditation kind of as an English equivalent. One of the important principles is that we meditate in order to realize the unborn, to realize enlightenment. We're not trying to get anything. We're not trying to get enlightenment, even. Where Master Jiyu didn't like the word enlightenment, because she felt it implied that there was some kind of special state that was outside of ordinary daily life. I can remember once when I was a novice, and we went through all the scriptures and our scripture books and whited out the word enlightenment and inserted realization as a substitute. We're already Buddha, and so we sit to realize what our true nature already is. There's a phrase from Dogen's Rules for Meditation which goes, just sitting with no deliberate thought is the important aspect of serene reflection meditation. So we endeavor to just sit. We all that's harder than it might sound. Okay, but we try to bring our mind back to just being present, just being there without desiring anything, without grasping after anything, just expressing what our true nature already is. And out of that, conviction, if you will, out of that faith comes our practice, both in the expression of the precepts, in the expression of, say, Samanta Bhadra's vows, all the qualities that we try to embody in daily life, compassion, wisdom, loving kindness. All of it's already there. Okay, we're just trying to bring it forth. In the same way, when we look at giving or making offerings, the kind of a conventional teaching is that we make offerings in order to accrue merit, positive karma, good results. And while that is true, and it does happen, in Soto Zen we look at it from a slightly different angle. And that is that we make offerings, we give out of gratitude for the Dharma, out of gratitude for what we already have. Okay. Again, we're trying not to get anything, but rather express gratitude for what we already have. Okay. Dogen has a chapter in the Shobogenzo, which is like his master work. It's a fairly long chapter. It's number 86 in Reverend Master Hubert's translation. It's rather long. It's one of the chapters that we have only a rough draft of what Dogen wrote, so he might have pared it down a little bit if he had a chance to edit it further. He starts with a rather long introduction, which I talked about last time, and again, this is one of the places where you might have, pared it down a bit. But he relates the Buddha talking about how he had spent, so many past lives again and again and again making offerings and accumulating good karma. But the Buddha notes that, he says, although I made all these great offerings, it didn't lead to my enlightenment. Okay. It didn't bear fruit in his realization of the unborn. He just kept, creating good karma and creating, better and better lives, but it didn't lead to the end of suffering. Okay. And finally, the Buddha gets it. Finally he realizes that, I just need to make the offering without any intent of getting anything, just because it's good to do. Okay? And then the Buddha says, that was the turning point. That's what led to my realization. As I said, it's a very long chapter, and it's worth reading for yourself. There's sometimes we think of Dogen and Shobogenzo is somehow too profound for us to understand, and so we just don't read it. Okay, there's a lot of chapters that are actually very practical in nature. Like there's one on washing oneself clean, which is about personal hygiene. Okay, there's another one to the kitchen monks about how to fulfill their duties in the kitchen. One of the things I in this chapter, although it's talking about something, a spiritual practice, it's straightforward. Okay, one of the things I like about Reverend Master Hubert's translation, and not every, he's not everybody's cup of tea. Okay, there's other good translations out there. But for me, one of the reasons I like it is that if I don't understand it, I can trust that it's not the fault of the translator. It's just a matter of my not understanding yet. Okay? And Reverend Hubert uses kind of the same terminology that we use in a lot of our other scriptures and ceremonies. So for me, it makes it, quite, accessible. Again, there's a number of sections. I'm just going to kind of cut to the chase and really my favorite part of the chapter. And it's a story about a blind monk who's asking for someone to thread his needle for him. But Dogen leads up to this by quoting from the Lotus scripture, which is one of our main scriptures in Soto Zen, the Mahayana scriptures. And there's a chapter called Skillful Means, okay? And in it, it's saying that it's describing all these different kind of offerings that you can make, offering music and offering flowers and, it says even if it's just a bow or making a gasho or even just the nodding of your head, something as simple as that will lead one to understanding. It will lead one to Buddhahood. And then Dogen recites a verse from Nagarjuna, who is one of our important Indian ancestors. And Nagarjuna is basically kind of saying the same thing. He says, in our seeking the fruits of Buddhahood, to extol a single verse, to recite a single homage, to burn a single pinch of incense, to offer a single flower. Even such small deeds as these, without fail, will enable us to realize Buddhahood. And then Nagarjuna gives a little comment here. He kind of says the same thing in prose after, giving that in verse. And he says, what is more if upon hearing the teaching, we really know the true form of all thoughts and things, which is beyond birth and beyond death, beyond non-arising and beyond non-perishing, then we will not likely lose sight of whatever karmic causes or conditions we are involved with. Okay? Otherwise, we won't lose sight of the goal. We won't backtrack. We won't lose the merit that we have accrued so far and be able to continue. Now, one of the important phrases in that, which Dogen will use again, is the true form of all thoughts and things. Okay, true form is capitalized. Okay, and when we talk about the true form, we could also substitute the word true nature, okay? Or ultimate reality. All of these phrases actually are a little problematic because an underlying theme in Dogen is the inherent unity of all things. We don't divide up reality into ultimate and conventional. When we talk, true nature, what is untrue nature? Reverend Master Daishin Morgan, who was our abbot at Soto Abbey in England for many years, he came up with a phrase which I really prefer and really like and find helpful. Is he called this undivided existence. Okay, everything exists. Okay, there's nothing outside of existence. Okay. And this includes all of our shortcomings, our mistakes, our disappointments. Everything is a part of what is. Okay, there's nothing outside of existence. Now, that can sound like kind of and it's undivided. Okay. Now, that can sound like kind of a conundrum, but it's pointed to what we can experience in meditation. Okay? This is what we talk about when we say there's something beyond deliberative thought or beyond discriminating thought. As humans, it's our mind, which is said, has enabled us to be kind of on the top of the evolutionary ladder. Some people kind of call that into question, whether we're really at the top or not. And particularly in our Western educational system, we're taught to analyze, okay, and pick things apart. And that's led to, great technological, achievements. This is the basis of the scientific method. But with all of that accomplishment, we can still feel like something is missing. Okay, and that's when we encounter that dissatisfaction. Okay. That can often be what motivates us to begin to meditate. It's what can, motivate us to turn within, and look for something else. Okay, I know that was certainly true for myself Even though I was brought up in a kind of conventional religious setting, I felt there has to be something more than just going to church on Sundays. There had to be something more than just belief. There had to be something more than dogma and doctrine. Okay, and that points us to practice. That points us to actually do something. It points us to giving meditation a try. It's interesting, in this county, in the next valley over, there's a Greek Orthodox monastery, and sometimes those monks come and visit us. And one of the things we've noticed is that we share a great similarity in regard to our practice. And they even told us, we think you monks have more understanding than our own lay congregation. Okay? Because they saw that the way we practiced and the way that they practiced, leads to the same truth, leads to the same place. And it's outside of the doctrines and beliefs and specific teachings. Nagarjuna continues to comment here. He says, there are instances when a small cause produces great fruit, or a small karmic condition produces great recompense. In our pursuit of the Buddha's way, if we extol a single verse, recite homage to the Buddha one time, or burn a single pinch of incense without fail, we will be able to realize Buddhahood. I'm just repeating what I read earlier, but now with a bit of explication that will make a little more sense. What is more, if upon hearing the teaching, we really know the true form of all thoughts and things, which is beyond birth and beyond death, beyond non-arising and beyond non-perishing, then we will not likely lose sight of whatever karmic causes or conditions we are involved with. And when the phrase all thoughts and things is used, it's just a poetic way of saying everything. Okay, everything. All thoughts, all of our, the non-tangible stuff that goes around, particularly in our own minds. Okay? And things, material objects. Okay? So they're trying to point at both whatever is within and whatever is without. Okay? The true form of that is the unborn. Okay? And then Dogen kind of praises Dr. Arjuna and says, oh, this is the true transmission from Shakyamuni Buddha. Then there's a section, again, where Dogen is quoting Nagarjuna, and he says, furthermore, it follows that because Buddhas revere the Dharma, they make it a venerative offering to the teaching and take the Dharma as their master. And why is this? because all Buddhas in the three temporal worlds make the true form of all thoughts and things their master. Otherwise, the true master, the Buddha within, is this true form, okay? Is this true nature. And when we revere the Dharma, and reverence implies gratitude, okay? When we revere the Dharma, when we express our gratitude for the Dharma, for the teaching, we're taking the Dharma as our master or teacher. And then someone asked, why do they not make offerings to the teaching that is within their own being, but only make offerings to the teaching in others? Okay. And Nagarjuna replied, to make such offerings would be to follow worldly ways. If people are desirous of showing veneration to the treasure of teaching, they do not make such offering to the teaching within their own being, but make it to others who are preserving the teaching, who know the teaching, who understand the teaching. Buddhas are no different. Even though they have the teaching within their own being, still they make venerative offerings to the teaching in other Buddhas. Okay, one of the lines from one of the practical teachings of Dogen, where he's instructing the monks in how to live in the monastery, and he says, there will always be a Buddha greater than yourself. Okay? And that we want to be able to always bow to that which is greater than ourselves. There's always someone who knows more than we do. Okay, and it's important to learn to bow to that. Dogen continues, the person then asks, granted that people like Buddhas are not seeking for good fortune or virtue, so why do they make venerative offerings? Otherwise, if we don't need anything, if we already have everything that we need, if we're not seeking to gain merit, why do we make offerings? What's the point? Nagarjuna replied, the Buddha had been cultivating all manner of meritorious deeds over immeasurable long eons, always doing what was good. Again, this is a reference back to this long series of examples that Dogen gave of the Buddha throughout many myriad lives had made offerings. Okay. Nagarjuna says, even so, the Buddha did not seek any manner of recompense. Or as once the Buddha got it, he didn't seek any reward. Okay? He made his venerative offerings out of his reverence for meritorious deeds. Otherwise, he made his offerings just because he saw the simple merit of making offerings. Okay, just because it was good to do. Now, he knew that there was merit in making the offering. And then this is a story which, always has stuck with me over the years, and I find really helpful. For instance, when the Buddha was alive, there was a blind monk who, nevertheless, was able to sew. One day, his needle came unthreaded. Thereupon, he asked, he was sitting in, among a bunch of monks, is there someone who so longs for the merit from performing good deeds that he would thread this needle for me? Okay, he's asking, gosh, could one of you help me? Could one of you thread my needle for me? At that very moment, the Buddha had just arrived where the monk was and said to him, I am one who longs for the merit from performing good deeds, so I will come and thread your needle. Okay. This monk, upon recognizing the Buddha's voice, he couldn't see the Buddha, but he could hear and recognize his voice, immediately stood up, put on his kesa, his meditation robes, and then prostrated himself before the Buddha's feet. Otherwise, he made a bow, saying, O Buddha, you are already filled to the brim with merit. Why do you say that you long for more? Okay. Otherwise, he says, you're already a Buddha. Why do you want more merit? The Buddha responded, though I may already be filled with merit, I profoundly recognize my debt of gratitude for that merit, the effects and recompense from good deeds done in the past, and the power of meritorious actions, the power of making offerings, the power of creating good karma. Okay. The Buddha said, yes, I'm already filled with merit. Yes, I've already realized the truth, but I recognize my debt of gratitude, and I want to express that by helping you. My having attained preeminence among all sentient beings is due to the merit from performing good deeds, which is why I long for it. Okay. And then it says, the Buddha, having finished his praise of meritorious actions, he then gave an impromptu Dharma teaching for the monks' sake. And then there's one of these miracles that you come across occasionally in the scriptures. Having attained the pure eye, it's in capital, otherwise having attained a realization, this monk's fleshly eyes were also made clear. Okay? Right? We weren't there. Maybe it happened, Scriptures from all traditions occasionally describe things that are outside our common understanding. Miracles. They happen. And then Dogen says, I heard this story a long time ago during an evening talk in my late master's quarters. This was when he was training, when Dogen was training in China. And in the evening, his master, Tendo Nyojo, would often call all the monks into his room and give a Dharma talk. Okay? Dogen says, later, I was able to check up on it. Dogen was a bit of a scholar, so he said, okay, where does this story come from? He's going to check it out. Okay. He says, I compared it against the passage in the commentary on the heart scripture. Okay, the heart scripture is the scripture of great wisdom, which we chant every day. It's the central scripture in the Zen or meditation tradition. And Nagarjuna is the one who wrote this commentary. Dogen says, the instructive retelling by my late master, who had transmitted the Dharma to me, was clear, without anything left out. And then he kind of quotes, you kind of have to prove that he looked it up. He says, this passage is from the 10th fascicle of the commentary on the heart scripture. It was clear from this that all Buddhas, without exception, take the true form of all thoughts and things to be their great teacher. The Venerable Shakyamuni Buddha had also given witness to the eternal truth of all Buddhas. Now, he is saying, this is the truth not just from Shakyamuni Buddha, but an eternal truth that has been realized again and again throughout eternity by people who practice. Okay? Buddhism, postulates that there have been many worlds, okay, many Buddhas, but there's been only one truth, okay, that each of the Buddhas realizes the same thing. And Shakyamuni Buddha himself said, I don't teach something new, okay? I'm just bringing forth the same truth that has always existed, okay? That all Buddhas realize this this fundamental truth that underlies everything, okay? The true form of all thoughts and things. Dogen continues, taking the true form of all thoughts and things to be one's great teacher means making offerings out of deep respect for the three treasures of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Again, making these offerings out of gratitude. For immeasurable, interminably long eons, Buddhas have amassed meritorious deeds and good spiritual roots without seeking any recompense, without seeking any reward, just making the offering because it is good to do, okay? It's the right thing to do. But simply making offerings out of reverence or gratitude for meritorious actions. Having arrived at the state of wise discernment, or wise wisdom, which is the fruition of Buddhahood, they are fond of doing small virtuous acts, such as threading a needle for a blind monk. If you desire to clarify what the meritorious actions are of someone who brought Buddhahood to fruition, the present story is certainly a precise account of it. Okay? Something as small as threading a needle for a blind person. Doing something very simple for someone else besides yourself. Dogen kind of wraps this up by then saying, meritorious actions that are based on both the wise discernment that is the fruit of Buddhahood, okay, and on the underlying principle of what the true form of all thoughts and things is not something akin to what ordinary, everyday people in the world today would fancy them to be. Otherwise, you have to look a little deeper than what conventional mores or understanding of a society are. Okay, you have to look for the spiritual truths that really all religions point to. You know, this importance of giving, of making offerings, of realizing the truth, cultivating wisdom. When we do that, we realize wise discernment. Okay, we get smarter. We have better decisions. We create good karma. We create the roots or the causes for our future, our present happiness, but also our future happiness. And then Dogen finished it again. It's kind of like poetry. Kind of keeps making the point again and again and again. It's like kind of a refrain. Okay. Just by doing this practice, we fully realize that the true form of all thoughts and things is something that each and every Buddha has penetrated through and through. The reason for this is that each Buddha and every Buddha has thoroughly explored the true form of all thoughts and things. Okay? And when Dogen uses this word explores a number of times throughout the Shobo Genso, and what he means by that is that we search for the truth. Okay? We explore our own minds. We go on an adventure, if you will, to find out what the truth is. The Buddha said, "Don't take my word for it, prove it true for yourself." Okay? And Dogen uses this word, explore, to refer to this inner introspection that we do in meditation. Okay? It's an exploration of what is truly true, that we can find within ourselves and that we can practice in daily life. And we come to see that those two things are not separate. Okay? Again, it's undivided existence. Okay? And it's out of gratitude for this knowledge that we make offerings. Again, we make offerings not because we're trying to get something, but because we're grateful for what we already truly know and already truly are. Okay. So I'll leave you with that. And thank you all for being here and listening. And remember that making offerings, it's not talking about just coming to the Buddha Hall and offering incense. It's these small acts of daily life that is the, if you will, the true offering, just because it's good to do. Okay? Thank you.